Hello dear students, in this section I'm going to talk about trigonometric functions 7.2, chapter 7, section 2. We have the fundamental three trigonometric functions are fx equals to sine x and fx equals to cosine x and fx equals to tan x. In this section we are going to talk about sine x and cosine x. You have to know how their graphs look like. You have to know what is the graph of sine and what is the graph on cosine, domain and range, period and amplitude. First, let me give you an introduction about graphing sine x. Graphing sine x, if it is sine x, it will cross 0. It will cross 0. And for cosine, it will not cross 0. It will go above or under 0. It will not cross 0. So you know the difference between them. Sine cross 0 and cosine doesn't. The domain for both of them are all real numbers. It's the set of all real numbers. And the range for both of them, it will change according to amplitude, because here we have a number here which is amplitude. This is amplitude. And if you have 1 here, the range will be -1 and 1, because according to y we have the function here from -1 to +1. And for cosine it is the same. It is -1 and 1, and it will change according to amplitude. The number before cosine and sine is called amplitude. The period, we have a definition of period. Period function are functions that repeat exactly in regular intervals called cycles. The length of cycle is called its period. For example, here we have like a letter of S. It is 1 period because it is repeated exactly. It will repeat it like this: one graph above, one graph down, and one graph above and one graph down. So we call it cycle or period. For cosine, a period is like letter V. So the period of a simple sine is 2 pi, and period of simple cosine is also 2 pi, and it will change according to this angle. If we have numbers here, different numbers like 2, 3 or pi, we have numbers here, it will change the period. And amplitude for both of them are 1. We said that we have amplitude here which is 1, and we have amplitude here which is 1. So it will change. If it is 2, if we have 2 here, the amplitude will change to 2. Let's move to another table, which is we have transformations of trigonometric functions. For the graph of y equals to a sine bx and a cosine bx. For example, here we have y equals to a sine bx. For a, we call it amplitude, and we are going to take it within absolute value because amplitude is the highest point. The highest point, we are going to take it as the highest point, so it should be absolute value, within absolute value. For period, we have a rule. How can we determine the period of this function? It is 2 pi over b. 2 pi over b. b is this number here. So for cosine and sine, it is the same. Let's move on to the examples. As you see, the examples are like multiple choices. We are going to determine the true function. Stretch or compressing sine and cosine functions. Which one is the function of the graph? For example, we have this graph which is given. We are going to find its graph, its true graph. First point, we are going to look at the amplitude. First, we are going to look at amplitude. Here, the amplitude, the highest point is 3. So amplitude is 3. And we know that this amplitude is 1, so it is not the right function. It is either A or B. because it is 3 and 3. So the second one, we are going to look at the period of this graph. We know that the period of a graph sine is like S letter. One period, it is one period here, we have pi. It stopped here, one period, which is pi. It means one period of this function is pi, one period. So we have to find the period for both of them. The rule of period is 2 pi over absolute value of b. So we have 2 pi, and b is here is 1. So the period of this function 3 sine x is 2 pi. So it is not the true function. Why? Because this period is 1 pi and that one is 2 pi, so it is not true. We are going to look at this one, 2 pi over b. Our b is 2, so it is 2 pi over 2. These two will cancel, pi is remaining. So the period of this function is pi and the period of the graph is pi, so A, it is the true answer. Let's move on to the exercises. Here we are going to look at the amplitude first. First we are going to look at the amplitude, which is 1. And we know that this is the graph of sine x. So it's because it crossed 0. So branch D is not true because it is cosine. And our period for this function is 1. It may be A. And B is not it because we have 1 over 2, which is not 1. And the amplitude here is 1. So it is either A or C. We are going to determine the period here. As you see, we have half period. We have half period, which is 2 pi. If our half period is 2 pi, so one period is 4 pi. One period is 4 pi. Because half period is 2 pi, so it means one period is 4 pi. So we are going to look at these functions. We have to find the period of these functions. If it is equal to 4 pi, it is the true function. The simple sine or regular sine, the period of regular sine is 2 pi. Let's find out. We have 2 pi over b. Our b is 1, so it will be 2 pi. Because this b here is 1, so it will be 2 pi. So it is not the true function. Because our period here is 4 pi, here it is 2 pi. And in here we have 2 pi over b. b is 1 over 2. 2 pi over 1 over 2. Do it by a calculator, equals to 4 pi, or 2 divided by half is 4. So 4 pi is remaining. You see that this function is 4 pi. The period of this function is 4 pi. So C is the true answer. Let's move on the next exercise. Here, exercise number 5. Which one of the following is the function of the graph? First, we have to look at the amplitude. Our amplitude here, we have 0.5 here, and that one is 0.25. Our amplitude is 0.25. So it is the graph of cosine. So branch D is sine is not true. And in here we have amplitude which is 1, so it is not true. This amplitude also 1, so it is not true again. And here this amplitude is 1 over 4. 1 over 4 equals to 0.25. So branch C is true. For this graph, as you see, this is the graph of sine, so branch D is not true. First, we are going to look at the amplitude. The amplitude is 1 here. It is 1. So this is 1, and also that one is 1. Branch C is 2, so C is not true. We are going to look at these two amplitudes. If you see, if they are 1 and 1, so it is either A or B. We are going to look at the period of this function. So as you see, the period of sine is like an S letter. It starts from 0 and here it stops. So it is one period because it is repeated like S. It is one period. So pi over 2 is 1.5 or something. 3.40 divided by 2 is 1.5. Here it may be nearly 2. So it is 2 here. Let's find out which one of these is the true answer. We have the rule of period, which is 2 pi over b, which is 1 over 2. So 2 divided by half is 4 pi. So that one is not true because the period of this function is 2. Here we have 4 pi. So it must be branch B. Let's find out how. We have 2 pi over b. b is pi. So pi with pi will cancel. 2 is remaining. So that one is the true answer. Branch B is the true answer. For this example, as you see, it said which trigonometric function best matches to the graph. First, we are going to look at the amplitude. The amplitude here is 2. Sorry, the amplitude is 2. So branch A and B are 1 over 2, so they are not true. Branch C and D we have, which is 2, both of them, but we have to find the amplitude. As you see, we have a half period here. We are going to look at the period for the second step. The period of this function, half period is 2 pi. So 1 period is 4 pi. Now we are going to find the period of these two functions. The period of this one it will be 2 pi over 1, which is 2 pi. So branch C is not true. It must be D. Let's find out why. 2 pi over 1 over 2 equals to 4 pi. So branch D is the true answer. Look at this different question. We have what is the amplitude for fx equals to negative 4 cosine 3 pi x. Here we have negative 4. So you may say the amplitude is negative 4. But you must know we are going to take the amplitude of sine and cosine within absolute value, which is negative 4 equals to 4 by positive. So H is true. That one is true. This is the whole examples for section 2. Those are examples are included. Thank you for listening.